I had paused the recording again, so you won't get to see them. I'm going to load a PowerPoint presentation that Lisa Duffy just shared, and we can get you a link for Tina's stuff as well, Tony. But we've been sharing best practices and just kind of debriefing and talking about stuff this morning. There's some good stuff happening. And here's a point that I want to make. Y'all represent a pretty good cross section of North Carolina districts, city districts, county districts, small districts, large districts. You don't get much bigger than Durham or Wake. And instructional leadership is happening in all of those places. Good practices in curriculum and instruction and assessment are happening throughout North Carolina, and you don't have to have the resources of a Wake or a Durham or Charlotte Meck in order to do good things for teaching and learning in school buildings. I'm a little bit biased in thinking that a whole bunch of this happens at the, and John's applauding, yay. A whole bunch of this happens at the building level, I believe. I was a principal and I'm just biased that way. I think that the school is the unit where real change happens. And I believe that it happens in classrooms, but I don't think it happens without strong, intentional, Lisa said that, intentional instructional leadership from strong principals. So those of you who are teachers and counselors and coaches and APs, I hope that you do aspire to the principalship, because I think you can do great things as instructional leaders, as principals in buildings. Those of you who are now in leadership positions, APs and principals, do aspire to the central office, please, because you can help build capacity at the central office level by gathering good people who understand your vision for instructional leadership and are ready to get on board and follow you and put structures and programs in place. This is skill driven. Yes, it really helps if you know how to manage people. John demonstrated that earlier with his little post-conference chat. If you know how to manage people, that is a skill and ability that you kind of bring to the job, and I'm not sure that is something that I can teach you. But curriculum, best practices in instruction, best practices in a balanced assessment system, that's all teachable. And if you're not there yet, you can get there with effort and with practice. You can all be instructional leaders. Lisa LaMonica Moore is going to be our next presenter in instructional leadership. Take it away, Lisa.
Do I have the right to share?
I think you can
my screen.
Snatch the desktop. Yes. Share? No?
Hold on. Do the desktop.
I've just made you the host.
Okay. Can you see this? Wait, hold on. It's loading. Can you see curriculum and instruction improvement plan?
Yes.
Okay. All right, this is a little lengthy, but I have written a script to try to stay on task here. So what I did was I am providing parts of my SIP A, B, and C kind of flows into this as well with the steps that we would have to take. And so what I'm doing is basically for you all a mock presentation of this information. And a lot of this, like I said, is stuff that we started doing. And this, I have to agree with Lisa, this class has helped me a lot in the research that we've done with the data. So I'll go ahead and begin.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Moore, team leader for Stokes County Curriculum and Instruction Improvement Plan. I want to invite you to join the Curriculum and Instruction Improvement Planning team in providing strategies to improve our learning in Stokes County schools. To begin, I strategically invited members of our district's educational team to be a part of the Curriculum and Instruction Improvement Plan, and that would be willing to test new ideas in the classroom. And so some of these were the questions that I asked myself when I was selecting my team. First of all, I want to thank each member that participated in the curriculum and improvement planning. These are my team members. I want to talk about Michael Sands. I want to give a shout out to him. Without his influence and the information that he had, I'm not sure that we would have been able to interpret the data and include some of the data. We didn't think about some of it, and he brought it up to us and made his input was extremely valuable. And Jacinda Clifton, she's our instructional coach. She is making everything happen through our PLCs. To begin with, we wanted you to understand why the SIP team feels the need for curriculum and instruction improvement, and that we use data to drive our decisions. And so this was the data that we included in our analysis. We used organizers to help guide us and keep the team focused on the pieces of data that we were studying. The first piece of data that we discussed and analyzed were 3 years of past NC report cards for Stokes County schools. And what we found was that most of the schools were making growth or exceeding growth, and the typical subgroups that usually struggle, they made growth as well. So if you look, if you went back, and what you all don't know, and that our school board members would know, and our academic chief officer, is that we don't have a lot of ethnic subgroups in our district, unfortunately. And but we are economically disadvantaged. We do have high economic disadvantagement, and we do have we exceed that 20% of student with disabilities. So, and that usually the trend would be that our academically gifted do not grow, but in this case,
Lost audio, Lisa.
which included the NC report cards and EVOS data for the district. And what we saw was that the performance trends for language arts, mathematics, and science. So here were the language arts achievement. If you look in the column to the far right, you notice that in 3rd grade, we were in negative growth. So according to what was expected through EVOS and how we performed in the past you could see from 2016-17, 2017-18, 2018-19, we just continue to decline in our reading performance. And the trend is pretty similar in 4th grade. And 5th grade, we actually improved by 3 points. 6th grade, a negative 7.1, 7th grade, negative 1.2, 8th grade, negative 4, and then finally in English 2, we had high growth there where it was 8.8. And so we knew that that was going to be a concern for us. If you look at our mathematics growth, it's not as bad, it's not as poor as what our language arts is. So, and then our science we were in the positive with each grade level that was tested, 5th grade, 8th grade, and then our biology. So we're moving in the right direction with science achievement. So we knew that our area would, that we were struggling with would be the language arts. The team looked at the county strategic plan to build upon our district's goals, but it is currently under construction. So our SIP team would like to propose that our improvement plan be a part of the new strategic plan for K-8 language arts. The SIP team felt it was important to hear the voice of our teachers, so we took into consideration the Teacher Working Conditions Survey. Kudos to our district leaders. Our teachers are highly satisfied and agreeable with almost all areas of the survey. However, one important survey question did not receive the rating that all of us would like to hope for. Professional development is differentiated to meet individual needs of teachers was a 70.7%. I believe we're trying to improve that area through grit and school level PLCs, but we see we are still in need of progress. After we studied each piece of data, we used a SWOT analysis to discuss our district's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities for growth, and strengths, and threats. After we conducted the SWOT, we ranked each goal in order of importance for the students and our district's growth and success. And of course, we went back to the reading grades 3-8. That's where we actually had the data for. We knew that we had to back up because of the proficiency rate was so low in grade 3 that something had to be going on in our K2 classes as well. And so we figured that when we did the SWOT analysis, we saw reading was the most important. The MTSS and IST was second, and that is because we felt that because of the interventions that we needed. We needed to make sure we were providing research-based interventions for our students and that we were individualizing learning strategies for each of our students as well. And then the professional development of foundations, iReady, data analysis, small guided reading groups according to data analysis, and then to have weekly PLCs in place, modify to focus on strengthening reading for each specific grade level, math growth in all grades, then to differentiated professional development for all grades and departments according to the teacher working conditions surveys, and graduation rate. And if you looked at our graduation rate, we were also declining there as well for the past 3 years. So our team felt that we needed to focus again on the reading proficiency grades 3-8, which we actually included K2 as well in this. And the team felt that root causes included, but were not limited to, the need for structured, chunked professional development in foundations for K2, professional development in iReady reading K8, emphasis on foundations in iReady county-wide, continue with MTSS and IST to provide interventions for struggling students. The district needs to prioritize basic reading skills in their kindergarten first grade and second grade classes with foundations reading. Again, I'm kind of reiterating what we found in our root causes. Along with foundations, kindergarten through 8th grade students will use iReady reading with fidelity. iReady reading will be used to provide individual reading to build upon phonics, phonological awareness, word fluency, vocabulary, literacy comprehension, and informational comprehension skills. Teachers will be trained on how to utilize the data to progress monitor their students, group in small guided groups, and provide tier 2 intervention support using the information and resources provided by the program. The SIP team also feels a need to continue to build structure and procedures for MTSS, IST, especially the paperwork moving students from tier 2 core intervention support to IST. After we discovered that according to the Teacher Working Conditions Survey, the SIP team felt we needed to have more information from teachers on how to improve PLCs, so we conducted a school-wide survey. And so according to the Professional Learning Community Survey given to the SIP team, PLC strengths for Stokes County schools, our teachers agree that PLC norms are provided to staff members. They're directly related to student learning goals. Simple language is used to explain learning goals to parents. Teams meet regularly to analyze data. Interventions have been implemented in the classroom for struggling students. Teachers reflect about how instructional practices affect student learning. The SIP team agreed that the Professional Learning Community Survey showed opportunities for growth, were improved teaching practices as a result of PLCs, changes made to teaching practices as a result of PLCs, and consistency in priority target learning goals for students. Again, we conducted another SWOT analysis just based on PLCs. And when we went through our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities for growth, and our threats, we prioritized our PLC target goals. And if you look, you know, it all began with reading PLCs. We needed unified reading program trainings with Foundations K2 to build a foundation for grades 3-8. And the iReady reading for K-8. One of the problems that we have in our county is we do one major training. So with foundations, each grade level throughout the county. So all kindergartners met in one classroom, all first grade teachers met in another, all second grade teachers met in another. And this was at the beginning of the school year, and they were given one day of training on foundations. At the same time, we also moved to iReady, and then very next day, everyone was broken up by grade level to be trained with iReady reading for the first training. And then everyone was expected to provide these services for the students. And so, you know, we really felt like a lot of the skills needed to be broken down and chunked so that we focused on one area at a time so that we can master each area. And so PLC and analyzing and comparable data, that was really important for the iReady. And so we broke that up into parts, and then with that, analyzing the data, then when we would analyze each part, we would teach the strategy that would go along with that according to what iReady and the Ready program. We also bought the Ready toolkits, and so what they would provide for us as a county. And our county spent a lot of money on all of these tools, so we wanted to make sure we were using them and they were not being used with fidelity. So we changed that at our school. And data, we made sure that we had data-driven differentiated planning and instruction. And again, we used the data that iReady provided. And then MTSS structure and consistency. We were not consistent with the transition of tiers and when to move students throughout the county. And so we tried to come up with some ideas on the steps to take from moving from one tier to another. And then PLC follow-up was also important. And we were providing PLC, and we were allowing teachers to take surveys so that they could give feedback, but then that follow-up had not been taken with the district level and given back to the teachers. So we just want to make sure that that will happen. And so, Dr. Palermo, I don't know if you want me to read through this or just kind of show it a little bit. This was our action for professional learning communities and improved reading proficiency. And so it's pretty long. It's several slides. And I don't know if you want me to go through them or not. It's basically, it was just breaking each foundation's goal, activity goal.
Yeah, let's skip ahead, Lisa.
Okay, yeah, we were just breaking everything down and chunking it like we had said for iReady and for foundations. The responsible parties for providing PLC plan foundations, the foundations training will be provided by school level instructional coaches to teachers of students in kindergarten through 2nd grade. The training videos and professional development provided by instructional coaches will be used to build teacher strategies used with the Foundations program and collaborating with grade levels to efficiently lesson plan. Administrators and instructional coaches will collect teacher lesson plans and observe teachers teach each Foundations activity, and teachers will observe one another to collaborate their strengths and opportunities for growth. With iReady Reading grades K-8, we will provide 3 training professional developments provided by a certified iReady trainer throughout the school year. As a supplemental support system to teachers, instructional coaches, and administrators will provide continued PLCs on iReady Reading and the Ready toolkits. Doug Rose, Chief Academic Officer, High School and Middle School Director, and Anna McGee, Elementary Director, will be responsible for maintaining iReady Reading memberships for all kindergarten through 8th grade reading language arts classes. They will also be responsible for continuing the training for instructional coaches and administrators so they can lead PLCs at school level. And school level administrators are responsible in purchasing Ready Reading kits with Title I and Title IV funds if the county cannot provide the tools. These would be our potential challenges, would be lack of funds at the school level to renew the subscriptions of the Ready Toolkits. Again, the Title I budget and Title IV budget, if they do not allow for renewal of Ready Reading Toolkits, instructional coaches will provide teachers with intervention and enrichment resources for individual students. Teachers will use those resources to collaborate lesson planning for their small guided reading groups and differentiated core instruction. The lack of time to collaborate with grade level departments and teams in order to overcome time restraints on PLCs. Strategic scheduling with grade level common planning will take place in the elementary schools. In the middle schools, common planning will be scheduled by grade level and department so teachers can meet and collaborate ideas during PLCs. So we felt like it was important to provide anything that would be a threat against us in moving forward with our plan, that we would have strategies that would help us to continue to move forward. Are there any questions?
This is what you propose to present to your supervisors as the summary of the SIP.
Yes, and of course, the action plan would be gone over with in detail, and they can see some of the videos. They also have the knowledge of what's going on with foundations and iReady, because the board has already approved that we move in that direction and that all K2 classes use foundations in the county, and that all K8 classes use the iReady Reading. And they've approved for the purchasing of those resources. So they want us to use them. However, we lack the training and the consistency. So some schools are still using Letterland. And in some schools, it's not even that the all K2 are using Letterland. They're using Letterland in kindergarten and then moving to foundations in 1st and 2nd. So we just felt like we really needed to be consistent. The language needed to be the same. The vocabulary needed to be the same. And not only that, but it would help the teachers like 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and so on. If we would be consistent, we could build upon that language as well in the upper grades, so the kids would get that consistency.
Okay. You're not going to get objections from folks if you've aligned your plan with the recommendations that the county is going in. So I think that was a smart move. Do others have questions for Lisa about her presentation? This is, again, what Lisa is proposing to present to her supervisors as the summary of the SIP, which is a requirement for you. Lisa, I loved it. I think it's, again, a maxi skirt. A busy superintendent may not want all of those slides and all of that information. But yeah, I think you've certainly covered the waterfront, and you've got good recommendations and an action plan that are already aligned with the district's move toward foundations, reading, and staff development. So way to go. Good
All
job.
right, thank you. Thank you.
And let's all hang in there. John, when you're ready, it's your show.
I think I'm ready now. Can you hear me okay? All
Yes, sir.
right.
I'm going to mute myself. Goodbye.
All right. So someone give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, excellent. So the good news is a lot of what I plan to talk about today, Tina and both Lisas have already kind of touched on a lot of things. So I won't open up and share every single element of what I have to talk about today. As I listened to Lisa's presentation, I saw that we're both the Eagles, and it was kind of funny to me that a lot of the things that she shared are things that the Eagles, a couple counties over from her, are doing as well. So you're going to see a lot of links, correlation between some of the things she talked about and what I'm going to share today. So the first thing I want to share for time, we don't have to do this today, but there's an Answer Garden link here, and if you've never used Answer Garden, it's pretty cool. You should try it out. So you share this, individuals can click on this link. I emailed it out to you all, and you can ask questions, and that way you can continue to talk, and then you can go back to the Answer Garden to kind of judge the response. And what it does is the more frequent, or the frequent response is larger, and so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So the question we were going to ask here in the Answer Garden is, what is instructional leadership? And I was going to give each of you a chance just to type in a couple words, but we won't have to do that. We don't have to do that today for the sake of time. What I do want to talk about is, if you see here, the program I went to for my MSA, one of my professors spent some time studying at the University of Washington. And so they provided us something that I continue to use, even though it wasn't I didn't go to the University of Washington. I went to A&T, but my professor provided us with a tool that I use with my instructional leadership now. And so it's just kind of 5 concepts or frameworks or core beliefs. And I really like these. And so I wanted to take a minute just to share those with you all as instructional leaders. And so it's just that instructional leadership should be learning focused for both students and adults and measured by improvement. Instructional leadership must reside. I like this one, with the team of leaders. This really helped, and the principal should serve as the leader of leaders. This really helped me because when I transitioned into administration, I had a lot of experience as a coach, a lot of experience as, kind of a cheerleader, a manager, but I didn't have a ton of experience, leading instruction. And so at times, if we're being completely honest and transparent, I kind of felt maybe inadequate or sometimes intimidated. But then what I learned is I don't have to know every single thing about all things instruction. I just have to be the person that is leading instruction within my building and is humble enough to put individuals around me that know what I don't and empower them to lead. And so that's been the kind of the biggest change. The first maybe year or so I was an assistant principal, I really struggled with not wanting others to know that I didn't know things. And so that's been the biggest change for me. It's okay that I don't know. I can just inspire the leaders around me to excel. And so the third thing is a culture of reflective practice. This just essentially goes, if you tie it back to the puppy video, you have to give individuals an opportunity to practice what it is that you implement, and you provide feedback for them to improve those practices. The fourth thing talks about instructional leadership should address. So I think this is key for me. And a lot of these things I learned when I was sitting in the MSA class, I didn't think were important, but they are now. And so sometimes we think that instructional leadership is isolated to just academics, but if you're doing things well in the correct way, your instructional leadership should address all the cultural things within your school, socioeconomic, diversity, equity, community engagement. So if you're doing it the right way, your instructional leadership should encompass all of those things. And I'm learning that as I grow as a leader. And then finally, instructional leadership should focus on effective management. This is another key thing. Dr. McIntosh was a very smart guy. So the fifth thing is instructional leadership. He taught us instructional leadership starts before you actually, it can start before you actually, they ever even teach a class. Instructional leadership can start as far back as the hiring process. What type of individuals do you look for when you're recruiting individuals to come work at your school to help you push what it is or achieve your goals? And so what I do in my leadership now is I don't isolate instructional leadership just to who I have. I think about it from a recruitment and retention standpoint. My instructional leadership for me starts with what type of people that I even recruit or hire to work in my schools. And so I'll move on. Are there any questions or comments? You want me to pause for a second to catch up on anyone? And I shared where we have these for, if you want to kind of take a look at them. There at the Center for Educational Leadership, the University of Washington. And I have this posted in my office, and I go back to it often. Anybody have any questions or feedback from that before we move on? All right, excellent. So one thing I went in and kind of adjusted from yesterday, being a lifelong learner, is I went in and adjusted this yesterday, and I kind of blame Dr. Palermo because I spent 4 hours yesterday going through all standards, and I was just pulling out and highlighting because I'm going to do this tool with my teachers. So to break it down for them, you don't have to know every single thing. So in instructional leadership summary, there's a paragraph there, but in reality, all we have to do is make sure that we set, create, and ensure. And so in all things that I'm going to share with you all in just a second, I always wanted to tie back to either me setting something, creating something, or ensuring something. And so I'm going to use this process to work through the observation standards with my teachers, so that they know, and I started on it last night, so that they know, let's just pull out the action words and what you should be doing. So I really like that. And then you have this presentation. There's a link there to the superintendent standards I found last night. So instructional leadership for me is about setting, creating, and ensuring. And so briefly, we already know that. I just put that in there. Briefly, I'm going to just talk about a couple of things that are listed in the proficient or above section here that I feel like that we're doing or we're making an effort to do at Eastway. And so the first thing talks about scheduling to maximize learning time. So I'll talk real quickly, implementing a master schedule. When I got to Eastway, they had a schedule, but it was a schedule to say they had a schedule. So there was on different grade levels, and it's not always bad that way, but it was no consistency, no rhyme or reason behind how things were going. It's each grade level operated as like its own school, and they dictated when and how what they did, within district guidelines, of course, but it just wasn't a school-wide master schedule. So one of the first things we had to do was create a master schedule, and I'll share that in a second. And that master schedule should drive instruction. And so I think Lisa mentioned it earlier. Our master schedule, you're going to see it takes into account or plans for pull out time, AIG, EC, ESL. All of those things are kind of driven by our master schedule. Start and stop times are huge. And I learned this. I've had the privilege. I look at it as a privilege. I've always worked in challenging schools with a low income and a lot of different issues. And two things I noticed, behavior challenges as well, is how you start the day is important and how the day ends is important. So in all of my master schedules, I try to make because we have so many tardies, we have to kind of on a daily basis almost reintroduce the model of school for our students. And so we put the bulk and the meat of what we do. The first 30 minutes or so of the day, we don't do a lot of what you would consider core content instructional things. And the last 30 minutes of the day, we don't. Because I've found just in the years that I've been working in schools like where I am now, it's ineffective. We don't get much out of that. And so I'll show you what we do in a second. And then student scheduling options, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade to help drive instruction. There's some opportunities to do clustering. I know a lot of people feel different ways about clustering, but we look at creative ways to maximize the talents of our teachers to effectively serve our students. So you can cluster students, flex grouping as it relates to intervention and scheduling and different things like that. And we also, what I implemented at Eastway this year is based on data and just conversations with teachers. And we made changes mid-year because it was my first year there. I match strength on weakness or strength on strength. And so just from my observation, that goes back to my coaching and athletic days. And so you put the best player you have, you let them guard the other team's best. Well, whatever, we won't go there. But so we made some changes. If you're a really good math teacher in 4th grade, and I have some students that need that support, you teach those students. And so I had conversations with teachers so that we can get out of this is my class, my group. No, this is our school. And so that's been an adjustment, still a work in progress. A couple people they're still not yet, but we'll get there. And then finally, the enrichment and intervention. When you have schools that are 60% not proficient, you have to be intentional about creating opportunities where you have a protected core. So you teach strong core, but you can't just hope and pray that students catch up. So we've always been extremely intentional about creating. I think Lisa called her time. I can't remember what you called it, but we call ours SOAR, and we'll get to SOAR in a minute. But we have enrichment or intervention time because it's important to know that all of your students don't need intervention. And so the students in our school that don't need intervention, we provide enrichment. So they do things like makerspace activities, robotics, different things like that. And so I'll show you just a few of the things now, just for the sake of time. I'll show you our schedule. Someone gives me a thumbs up if the schedule pops up. All right, excellent. So a lot like my fellow Eagles, I'm a color coordinator guy. So I like to look at things and be able to see what should be happening based on colors. And so as you see, like I told you before, the first 30 minutes of our day, because we have kids trickling in, we do breakfast in the classroom and something we call morning meetings. And that's K-5 and that's supported school-wide. So we set the tone for the instructional day, the first 30 minutes in all of our classrooms. And usually by about 8:30 or so, we have all of our tardy students out of the office. Everyone's here and we can get into instruction. As you can see, what we implemented this year especially in K3 or K5 is we have structured core content blocks. So this helps us so that last year and previous years, the teachers taught what they wanted when they wanted to teach it. That's great. It gives them the autonomy to be professional, but it doesn't help us with providing feedback and being intentional about where we are and when we're there. So this year, They have set times where the expectation is you're teaching literacy then, math now, different things like that. And then as you can see in the green, that's when everyone has SOAR. And like Lisa stated, that's when we do most of our EC, our ESL inclusion or resource times typically happens during SOAR. And anytime you don't see green areas showing up for intervention in SOAR, our support staff schedules, we have a what we call a targeted or a list, and they are always all day long pushing into. I have an amazing group, ESL, EC. They work hard. I have to remind them sometimes to eat lunch, and so they're busy all day. And then one of the other major things on the schedule that I'll show you is you can see kind of where is it? Yeah, so you can kind of see here, we do SOAR K5. So we don't just wait until they're going to take an EOG test to try to do things. I believe that you start building a strong foundation so that you don't have, I told the staff when we got here this year, my goal is within 3 years that we no longer need SOAR. So we can absorb that SOAR intervention time back into the core classroom, because I want us to work our way out of needing structured intervention time, because I want us to be 70, 80, 85% proficient so that we can just work in those interventions to a small group of our students and not need 70% of our kids to need that time. So we'll work towards that. The second thing, real quick, I'll just show you, and I won't read through everything for time, but one of the things that they said when I got there is, okay, well, we have this intervention time. What do we do? And so what we did was created an intervention and enrichment framework. So all of our teachers, they know the guidelines. So we had to tell them a purpose, because what we know about teachers is, you know, elementary teachers, Dr. Palermo, if you've never had the experience of teachers take on the personality of the grade level that they work. So elementary teachers, because I've worked in all 3 levels, and elementary teachers by far, I love them to death, but they're the most needy group of people that I've ever worked with. And so they need to know, just like the kids, why. You know, you tell a kid, I need you to sit down, but why? So they have to know everything. So we give them the purpose. We tell them it's not a replacement. So this document here is just what we created with our instructional team to give them a framework so there's no guesswork in what we're doing during SOAR time. They know what the expectations are. And we even provided them, and I'm going to talk about this, exemplars. We give them a sample of what a SOAR time lesson should look like. And so they get to see that. So they don't
Clear
have
expectations and examples.
Right. So they don't have any questions about what should be happening during that time. And then the final thing I'll share on this page is, and this was, I'm going to be honest with y'all, this was, and Renita knows our IAs in Durham are different. They work hard, but they've had, I don't know about her school, but at my school, the IAs were being used for years as more so just like either babysitters or personal assistants for teachers. And that's not what their main goal should be. So they're instructional assistants. By name, they should be assisting with instruction. And so what I did this year was created a different schedule for my IAs where they are going in based on their ability level and skill set, because you don't want someone that can't do to be responsible for providing, you know, small group instruction. So we have a bi-weekly PD with them to help support them so they know what to do. And if you look at this document, all of my IAs all day long are no longer assistant or like tied to just the kindergarten IA that sits there and helps them cut and glue paper all day. So you have your time in kindergarten when you need it, guided reading, letterland, different things like that. But we don't need an IA sitting in kindergarten while they're at recess. So you move and you help support instruction throughout the entire school. And so that's kind of one of the new tools that we've implemented. I'll pause for a second. Nothing. All right. So touched on it quickly. outlining expectations, you kind of saw that in the SOAR guidelines. So we do that a lot. Coaching and feedback, we also outline. My staff, they were not, my predecessor was a very different person than I am. So her leadership style was effective, but she led with, her focus was, her main job every day is everyone to be happy and love being here first. And then second, will because of that, everyone will do well. That works and that's great, but my expectation is we all are going to do our job, and because we're working so hard, we're going to like being here. And so that's been a change from my staff, because she was the principal there for about 7 or 8 years, and I'm a different leader. And so I had to come in and clearly outline expectations for the coaching and feedback. I don't just go in and say, hey, great job all day. It's not always, oh, you want me to stop, Doctor?
No, I just
Oh.
wanted to say she was congenial, you're collegial.
Right. So I don't just say great job because I want you to invite me to your cookout next week. If it's not a great job, I feel like I have an ethical responsibility and duty for my children to tell you not just that it's not a good job, but also how we can make it better. And so I clearly had to outline those expectations because it was different. Provide exemplars. So we even created a schedule where we identify, and that's why I hate the school year ended, my first year, but we found our teachers that are doing what we want, how we want it done. And we created a schedule, professional development schedule, where we allowed our teachers to kind of do the fishbowl model, where you spent time. If Miss Dawson is doing guided reading the way we want it done, then you go and observe her guided reading block. And so we provide you exactly what we want to see. There's a walkthrough schedule. We don't, it's not about a I got you moment. The teachers know our walkthrough schedule, because to me, it's more important that you are doing things the right way than I try to catch you not doing it right. So we share with them the walkthrough schedule. And then of course we have feedback for them. So real quick, I'll just show you, and won't spend a lot of time. I'll just show them to you. This is our administrative walkthrough schedule. And again, you can see my APs, they aren't colored. They don't like the pretty colors like I do, but I do a lot of color. So by grade level, I have you colored in. And so every day as the principal, unless someone is, doing something crazy, or the district office, they pop up, you know how they do, but this is my goal. So on a perfect day or week, this is where I would be. And like you see up here, in my APs were like, whoa, that's a lot of time. I had to make it clear for them. You don't sit there for 45 minutes or an hour. You 15, 20 minutes, visibility. We know what we're looking for when you're there. You can see that in 15 to 20 minutes. And so we had to outline that for them. And this is where I go. And everyone is included on this list. Everyone from my EC teacher to my 5th grade science teacher, everyone gets an opportunity. I remember the first day I walked into my media specialist room to do a walkthrough on her, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm, doing a walkthrough." And anyway, that was new for her. But
can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Because I haven't done this. So you see these teachers you're in their room every week. So Ms. Dawson knows that every Monday morning you're in her room.
Right. And so if I don't come, it's because something happened. And what they do, my teachers had got to the point before we left, they would email like, "Hey, Mr. Brooks, you didn't come today." And so they know, and not just me, everyone. And so it's different days. And so my teachers know to expect 2 to 3 people, an informal walkthrough. And I'll show you about every time we come, they don't get feedback, not formal feedback. So I'll show you that in a second, but they know that we're going to come. And so, but every day they're not overwhelmed with daily feedback, unless there's something that needs to be addressed that day.
But it looks like every day someone's in their room.
Yeah. Or 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so for 15 to 20 minutes. And so that everyone, if you notice here, you'll see on Wednesdays, I don't have anyone. that's the time on Wednesdays I save for administrative or flex time. If I'm having a teacher, I need to spend a little extra time with them, I save Wednesdays for that. And I also gave both of my APs time. So one has Monday mornings, the other has Monday afternoons. And then one of the biggest things I like here is every Wednesday, we take a school-wide focus. I take my curriculum coach, and we do a joint walk through every Wednesday afternoon. And so we won't look for everything. Like our focus this Wednesday may be I can statements. And so we'll have a brief discussion about what are we looking for I can statements. And then we'll walk, and the only thing we focus on is that. And we don't even give that feedback to the teachers. We talk as an instructional group, instructional leadership group, where we are with that. And so each week we may have a different focus. And we just do that on Wednesday afternoons. And then,
Wow.
yes.
How do you handle your buses for your APs? I know we don't probably handle buses, but what if a bus issue come up when they are supposed to be in the classrooms?
All right. So you mean like as far as like there's a
like at the beginning of the year, you know, you have a lot of address changes and stuff like that.
Right. So
you discipline.
Yeah. So I'm gonna show you discipline. So with buses, at the beginning of the year, as you're working through things, and you have to be flexible. But I don't let anything, unless it's an emergency, take priority over the instructional leadership within the school. So you can empower other individuals, not trying to, this is gonna sound really, really wrong, but I don't know how else to say it. There are other individuals in your building who have the ability to take bus questions, provide some immediate relief for that situation until the AP is available. I don't pull my assistant principals away from things that relate to instructional leadership to handle managerial tasks. So behavior, unless there's something significant, like there's a fight with blood drawn, and it's a Wednesday afternoon, we're in classrooms. And so I'll tell my behavior support specialist, my front office staff, my data manager, my secretary. There are people that get paid money that are in your building that they don't have 8 hours worth of work to do on a daily basis. If a bus question comes, you can kind of be a stopgap for whatever's happening. And then once my AP is available, you can fill them in and they can kind of take it from there. But to give you a short version of a long story, nothing in my building is more important than instructional leadership. And so what you'll get, unless the superintendent shows up, then we all stop. And then what you'll get here is, and I'll show you this, this is my behavior coaches. So we were having a lot of issues with behavior, so we added this piece. And so this isn't for teachers, but my behavior specialists, they have a schedule as well. So they go in Monday through Friday, and we identified the classrooms that we were seeing our most significant behavior in. And so we were proactive, because like I said before, instructional leadership encompasses all things. And so they go in on a weekly basis, and they push into classrooms with teachers. Now, I made it clear, this isn't your behavior management plan. So as a teacher, you still have to do things that you should do, because they're not going to sit there all day, every day. But they just go in, check in, provide some support, some feedback to students as it relates to behavior. So this has kind of helped us this year. All right, so I'll get out of that. My APs need to do better with getting some color on their stuff. So I'll click out of that. And then the next thing I'll show you, we won't spend nearly as much time, is I have instructional coaches. And this is what they have a monthly walkthrough schedule that they do. So this is what my instructional coaches walkthrough look like. They do huddles, different things like that. And you see, you got to inspect what you expect. So they know that they're going to get someone coming through to see SOAR. So it won't be the kids on the computer and the teacher on Facebook. It needs to be true intervention time. And then the final thing is, this looks really almost like Lisa's. We do have our form that we created for our walkthroughs. And as you can see, Tina, we only have 141 responses. I bet we've been in 1,000 classrooms. So I'll tell my APs and I don't allow my coaches to provide teachers feedback. The only feedback they get, formal feedback, comes from the administrative staff. I don't want them to see my coaches in an administrative role, because then they lose the trust factor that relates to them getting better instructionally. So my coaches just may provide them notes and assistance. The only feedback they get is from the administrators. And so we have 141 responses. Here's what I like. You could just break it down. Don't get mad at me. I'm competitive. So my AP, Mr. Locker, he's at 31% of our walkthrough. So I may just knock in a few just so I can go up some. But I like this because we can see, what we're observing. We spend a lot of time looking at our literacy and math. I like that. We can see where we spend most of our time with grade levels. And so this is going to shock you all. If you would expect, because we test in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, that we spent most of our walkthroughs there. I feel differently. Like I told you before, I have a process or a plan in place where I plan for us in 2 to 3 years to not be 30% proficient. So we spend a lot of time in the foundational grades as an administrative staff. Now my coaches, they're reversed. They spend a lot more time in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. But from administration standpoint, we're heavy in K2. And then those are some of the responses. You get notes, so we can review the notes as an administrative team. Instruction, I don't like this. As you can see, this is why we have a plan in place for this. 47% of the instruction we observed was always whole group. So I don't like that, and that's a conversation that we can have with teachers moving forward. And then this is just classroom management notes, and just different things like that. Walls that teach. So we review this weekly in our weekly administration meeting. All right, so I'll move on for the sake of time. Now I won't show all of those for sure, but data and accountability, student data, data presentation, and assessments. I do want to show you, I think this is the one. Real quick, I created this spreadsheet, and I don't believe in guesswork. I don't, as a principal, I've never sat back and got my EOG results back and been surprised or disappointed. I usually know mid-year, kind of within a range where we'll be at performance-wise. And so we track the data for all of our students from all the assessments they take. And then one thing we missed out on doing this year because of COVID was we always do, my teachers and coaches love it, we always do EOG predictions. And so, and I tell them what we need. So we have our goals. They know we need 40 students. And so for each grade level, we need 35 students. Not saying that the rest of them, may the odds forever be in their favor, but they just know they have to identify 40 students, 55 students. So they know the expectation. There's one other thing I want to show y'all on here is about data presentations. I think this is it. Yep, perfect. So the accountability piece, all of my teachers have to do each quarter. They have to do what we call data meetings. So they come up, and this is from Mr. Velasquez. He's my 4th grade ELA teacher. And we talk about what a data meeting is. I'm gonna go quick for time, but he talks about a reflection from the quarter. Then he goes and he looks at his data. So he looks at, and y'all pretend like y'all aren't seeing student names, please. I didn't have time to go in there. But he looks at, these are the kids right now that are, at risk, blah, blah, blah. And so it makes you put faces and names with numbers, and it makes you're accountable for what it is you should be doing. And then they look for patterns, pros and cons. So this is one thing that we do with our teachers. I won't go through everything, but they know they have to talk about the MTSS process. And so each quarter, our teachers come in, and one of the PLC time they do a 10 to 15 minute presentation, just where they are with their student data. and then we give them time to ask us what they need, what help, what resources you need. All right. And I'll show you one more here. I think, nope, not that one. That's not what I want. This might be it. Yeah. So it's important to also celebrate. There are two different links on celebrate. We celebrate teacher and student growth and success. So I push my individuals hard, but we party hard as well. And so this is just an example of one of the celebration days we had for kind of the instructional celebration day. So we just had like a hot dog cookout day, dancing and different things like that. So just wanted to show that it's important, if you're going to be an instructional leader and push people to do well, you also got to celebrate and reward them when they reach those goals you set. So then I'll move on for time. Think just a couple things left: professional development and professional learning. This is we have a comprehensive school-wide PDP. So you can see we plan out our PD for as much as possible for the year. So some of the things we've done, vocabulary, curriculum alignment, we have Eureka Math, which is our math content, Capturing Kids' Heart, MTSS, science. So we even went as far as doing customer service training. So the Chick-fil-A approach. So I don't believe in leaving anything for chance as it relates to the school day. So we even talk to our custodians, front office people, how do you interact with students and stakeholders on a daily basis? So those are just all the things that anytime we add a PD, or anything, we add it to this sheet. Is what we've done to get better throughout the year. Second thing is our BTs. This district does a pretty decent job supporting BTs, but we created our own BT in-house. I figured this out my second year as an AP. I said, man, every year we lose teachers because this school is so hard to work in. So what I figured out was we just create our own in-house support plan for new teachers, and maybe we'll keep a couple of them. And so we just have a plan in place where we match them with strong mentors, and different things like that. And that's just, and they meet monthly. Some months it's about instruction. Some months it's just about teacher survival. Like, how do you find balance and different things like that. And there's always a monthly topic to support our BTs. And then the final thing here is what a BT support plan looks like. So we create those. They have their expectations. Of course, you have the list there. And so just something that when you do find teachers and you invest in all of that time, making them strong instructional leaders, they don't leave you to go work at Renita's school in 2 years. You got to try to keep them. All right. And then finally, and of course I won't do all of this, but I do want to show a couple things that expectations have changed for instructional leadership as it relates to us dealing with the COVID-19. So we've done some things differently. I want to show you all something, because this is what our typical newsletter, I send this out every week, and it's called a Pit Crew News because our theme this year is racing to the top, high expectations, no excuses. And so we're a racing team. And so this is our Pit Crew. And so every week they get this with a little instructional, motivating message from me. And then, but that's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is here. So right here, we always give a couple tips. We give a behavior tip of the week. So what I learned is people complain a lot, but I try to not take away the ability to complain, but I give you exactly what it is you complain. So if you complain that this school has challenging behavior and that limits what you can do instructionally, then we put processes and procedures in place to handle that. So they get a behavior tip of the week, and they know that that our behavior specialists are looking for this to be implemented for the week. And then we also have an instructional focus of the week. And so this is what a typical week would look like. And so PBIS reviews, differentiation, effective questioning. So the teachers know from a behavior standpoint what we'll be looking for, And from an instructional standpoint, here's what individuals will be looking for each week. All right. So that's a typical one, but here's kind of what it looks like during COVID. So we don't have all of that. We just do what I call active Eagle. So the individuals that are doing things online, I shout them out. And you see here, we have links to all of our professional learning opportunities that are online. So our academic language discussion, principles of like each week, me or one of my APs lead a professional development session. And so that was the one for that week. And so that's just wanted to kind of give you an idea of how you can kind of still be an instructional leader from your couch. And then I'll show maybe one or two more of these because this is the last slide. Let me see what this is. Oh yeah, this is a good one. So this is kind of our e-learning plan and schedule. So of course our vision is there. It's at the forefront of all we do. Right? Igniting excellent active global learners, empowering students for success, racing to the top, high expectations, no excuse. They get tired of hearing me say that. And so that's just what we do. We have our schedule. So this is what our teachers are expected to do. Google Classroom. So it's just kind of a breakdown for our parents and staff to see what everyone in the school, from our classroom teachers to our front office staff, to our specials, this is what everyone is doing while we're away right now. Then one more. I think this is it. Nope. Yeah, this is a good one. So I don't know why it's formatted that way, but this is just, we created a weekly, so there's no, battery's going dead. So we created a weekly, you don't have to guess what you should be doing from home. If you don't have a PD or a PLC or something to do, everyone up here, you just pick something from this list of activities provided and you do this daily. So it gives you some things that you can do to help continue us moving towards our goal. And one thing to show y'all about, that's just the Google Classroom sign up. I think this will be the last one. We'll end. Let's see, maybe this one. Nope. All right, I'll just go from the top because I'm obviously clicking on the same link. No, that's not what I want. There was something I wanted you all to see. Did I click this one yet? Huh, is there another page? No, that's it. Well, what I wanted you all to see is the content. We created a contact database for all of our students who we have not actively engaged instructionally. Oh, there it is. So we created a contact database class by class for all of our students who we have not been able to engage with instruction. And so one of the things we believe that should come out of this process from an instructional standpoint, we kind of get an opportunity to see if this ever happens again, what students are we not being able to reach? And so we're creating a database where everywhere you see a no, whenever we do return to school, we're going to have a plan in place to have meetings, home visits, figure out exactly what we need to do to support each and every one of those students and families, because everywhere you see a no means that they aren't getting any instruction right now. That means we haven't been able to access them with online, an instructional packet. And so everywhere you see a no, that's a problem for us. Like, look at this class. This is what bothers me. This is a 4th grade class. And so as you can see here, that's unacceptable. And a lot of it is because we don't have accurate phone contact information. They haven't signed up for any of our dojo pages. Their mail, the addresses aren't updated. And so all of the students you see no from an instructional team, and a kind of a comprehensive school-wide leadership team, this is going to be priority 2 for us when we return from COVID, is making sure how do we do a better job of engaging these families. And I think that's it. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, John, that is fabulous.
Thank you.
You, buddy, are an instructional leader. I think after seeing your presentation, again, you should be teaching this course next time, or aspiring to other instructional leadership roles in your district or elsewhere. John, I hope that you'll stay in touch, but I hope to see you in a superintendent's chair in the next couple of years. I know that one of your goals is to try to see growth at Eastway over the next couple of years. Again, folks, classmates, John is modeling instructional leadership for the rest of us. Lisa LaMonica Moore, Lisa Duffy, Tina Anderson, thank you all for your contributions this morning. Again, I think that learning from one another and being a cohort is powerful. And again, I hope that I have provided you with some theory and some book knowledge. I hope that the work that you've done has increased the skills that you need to all be instructional leaders. But some of you are already doing this stuff right now, and kudos to you. So here is where I was going to wind up today. You had a discussion board a while back about Black and instructional leadership that asked, what can you do as instructional leaders to support teachers in looking at practice more deeply? Do I have you looking at my desktop again? Is that working? Yes. Okay. So let me go to thumbnails and get you over on the side here. And okay, I'm just going to jump ahead. And if you feel that you have a contribution that you want to make and are dying to make, then shoot me a thumbs up or jump in. I asked you to come to class to share an example, but here's my list from yesterday from the things that I was thinking about and hearing about from you in your presentations. What are some ways that you can lead instruction in your building, whether you're a teacher, a counselor, an assistant principal, or a principal? You can lead PLCs in unwrapping standards for that PLC grade or subject area. You can lead a discussion of vertical alignment of the curriculum in your school. I heard Lisa or somebody talking about that today. You can lead a discussion about differentiation or scaffolding in PLCs. Lead a discussion of formative assessments and the power of not yet, or show folks the Hobbs video and lead a discussion about praise and formative feedback and coaching and modeling. Seek out opportunities, in other words, to work with others, to use research-based best practices for instruction. That's straight from the standard. And again, I'm excited to hear you talking about using the standards, John, and unwrapping standards as activities. This is stuff, again, that well, back to Carol Dweck. We've got to believe that we can get better, that kids can get better, that teachers and instructional leaders can get better, and that we can all practice this stuff and improve. Let me stop that share. Let me go to whole group again. Let me say hello to all of you again. And now we're at this point in the semester, in the course, where I say, that's about it. Instructional leadership, as my final words, instructional leadership is a skill that you can learn. John has had a lot of practice here and he's getting better at it. I hear other instructional leaders among you practicing this stuff and getting better at it. As teachers and coaches and counselors, you can as well. And so keep getting better at this stuff. What else do you need from me? Well, I know you've got evidences to do, but we're done in terms of new content to learn from Palermo. I don't think that there's anything new in weeks 14 or 15. There's something about black, but uh, no. Get your evidences done. Be well. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Do your best to provide good teaching and learning for your staffs long distance. And please chime in right now if there are last thoughts or last questions before we sign off for the weekend.
So what was due for today? We just went over that.
Yes, the black. Would you like to share another idea about how you can lead instruction in your building?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah. No, let me close it. If that is open as a discussion board, I'll close it and say we all. I've heard plenty from all of you this weekend that demonstrates to me that you are at various places in that rubric. You're at various places here, but you're all instructional leaders, and you all, I think, have a better idea about how to improve and be better instructional leaders next week and next year.
Yeah.
So.
Dr. Palermo, I want to say, first of all, thanks. I know this year, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I'll speak for me. I know this semester was a different experience for me than last semester. And so I know that it pushed me a little more outside of my comfort zone with a lot of the feedback you provided with our assignments and different things like that. So I feel like that last semester was a good introduction into the doctoral program, but I feel like that you kind of pushed me from an instructional leadership standpoint with a lot of the feedback you provided on the assignments I submitted. So I don't know how everyone else feels, but I just want to thank you for the pushing us to grow throughout the course. I really feel like that this semester, as an instructional leader, what the course was designed to do, I feel like it did that. So I just want to thank you for that. And also check your chat. I think there's a lot of messages blowing up in the chat.
All right, I will check my chat. And thank you, John. That's nice. It means that I'm maybe doing my job. And don't forget, Gardner Webb will send you a student opinion of instructor survey, so you can make sure that you include that as well. Chat.
Before we chime off, I want to thank all you guys for being supportive. If you guys continue to pray, I think we're getting better each day. It's a rough time right now. We don't know what this funeral thing is going to look like, this pandemic, but we're going to get through that. But also, Dr. Palermo, you push me a lot, especially on comments. I'm going to piggyback off of John. And a lot of the things that you comment on, I knew had gotten relaxed and had not been used to doing it. But for that, I thank you. I thank the whole group as a whole. Y'all guys just keep praying for us.
We will hold you in our prayers and thoughts, Tony, and be a cohort. Support one another. There's power in the cohort, and lots that you can learn. So I hope Lisa and John, will you send your PowerPoints to me, and I'll load those in Blackboard, and then you can go back in and check, especially if those links are live. John, you've got a whole bunch of great stuff in there that I'd like to look at.
Yeah, and if it doesn't give you access, just request access from me, and I'll make sure you can see it. I'll send it right now.
Thank you so much. I will load those into Blackboard. I will load videos and continue to talk at you the next 2 weeks. You've got work that you need to get into me. Work on that when you can, when you have time between families and careers. And again, if you can get it all loaded to me and into TaskStream by May 5th, that's kind of my drop dead to get grades into Gardner Webb. So thank you for that. Shonda, I want to be on an island under a palm tree with you, and Does anyone have any last thoughts before we all head for the islands? Arrivederci. Have a great weekend. Have a great semester. Good luck to you in your program. Reach out to me if there's something that I can do for you. And yes, as you move into other positions and advance in your careers, I'd love to hear about it. If there's something I can do for you in the future, reach out to Jay Palermo. Thank you. Adios.
Adios.